Good afternoon. Imagine walking into an underserved, poverty-stricken classroom where students are expected to memorize textbooks, definitions, follow rules, and sit quietly, but are never asked what they think about or how they feel or what they know about the world that surrounds them. That classroom shows up in many urban schools today, in the West End, across the country. For too long, we've created these schools to be and label their students as broken and underperforming. Wow. But what if I told you the problem isn't the students? The problem is the system in which they learn or being educated in. And that's exactly what Advocacy for Urban Schools by Dr. Outler has helped me understand. Transitioning to theory, Pablo Freire. An oppression of and pedagogy of the oppressed calls this to the banking model of education. Students are treated like empty vessels, and teachers are the ones who deposit knowledge within the classroom. But Freire challenged us to think differently, that education should be practice of freedom, where students and teachers learn with each other and not from each other. Teaching to and answering important questions regarding their curiosity is so important. Before reading Freire, I believed teaching was about delivering content perfectly to the younger audience, right? How does that help them? In what way, shape, or form, right? Think about that. Now I see that teaching is about fostering critical thinking, about helping students question, imagine, and even resist oppression, right? In today's society, when students see other students raising their hands, that's a prime example of resisting the oppression, right? They want us to stay silent, especially during history classes, but we'll be willing to answer questions about math or science and so on, right? So advocacy then isn't just about policies. It starts in the classroom, in conversation, listening, and recognizing students' roles as human beings, right? If a student asks you a question, you should answer it to your best knowledge, not tell them fluff to just pass on, right? Because if they teach that to somebody else, then they look like they don't know anything, right? And that's the teacher's fault, right? So transitioning to James Baldwin, emotional and moral responsibility. James Baldwin in this essay taught to teachers reminded us that this kind of teaching is not neutral but progressional. Baldwin says that if teachers truly educate, they disrupt the peace within the system in which they work in, right? They expose the truth, and sometimes the truth is uncomfortable in many situations, right? With our families and friends. For urban students, Baldwin observes schools often serve as places that reinforce inequality. The curriculum erases history, undervalues our culture, and teaches them that they are less than they are, right? Which can breed successful advocates, right? As someone entering in education and advocacy, Baldwin's words hit me hard. Being a teacher isn't just a job, it's a moral responsibility. We cannot be silenced in the face of injustice, and every lesson, every dialogue, every policy decision has the potential to either reinforce oppression or challenge it, right? This transition to the text by Ruha Benjamin, Viral Justice and Collective Action, right? And there is Benjamin's Viral Justice text, which challenged the way I think about impact and advocacy. Benjamin argues that justice spreads like a virus, not only massive reforms, but small, deliberate, and sustained acts. A progressional route, then a conservative route. Teaching a student to question power, listening deeply to their experiences, and organizing small community incentives are all viral acts of justice, right? Urban schools are not empty spaces of despair and pity, but are filled with resilience, creativity, and possibility. The change is amplified that power, giving students the resource and voice to shape their own education. Advocacy is not about saving students. It's about fighting alongside them, right? So this is my personal reflection and my vision. So what does it mean for me as someone who wants to be an advocate in urban education? It means three things. First, it means creating classrooms that are humanizing and dialogical. Students are co-creators of knowledge, not progressive recipients, with the intent for students to teach the class to make them more comfortable and to answer questions. Second, it means centering community wisdom, family, local leaders, and students themselves having expertise that schools often ignore. Advocacy means listening and not speaking over them. Thirdly, it means engaging in social change, policy work, curriculum reform, and organizing that addresses systematic inequalities. It means small, consistent acts that ripple outward, spreading justice like Benjamin describes. Closing, call to action. In conclusion, urban education is not broken. It is considered constrained and confined. Our students are not lacking, they are powerful and brave. As educators and advocates, our role is to dismantle the barriers that limit them, to amplify their voices, and to create spaces in which they imagine and shape a better world. I leave with you Baldwin's warning and Ferreri's hope. Teaching honesty will disrupt the peace, but in that disturbance lies the possibility for freedom. And that's why advocacy is not optional, it's our responsibility. Thank you.